So, a woman in the UK murdered her 10-year-old son and isn't going to jail for it. Now, that sounds surprising or unbelievable. This is actually quite common in the UK. You can see here mother suffocates disabled child and gets a hospital order. Hospital order basically means that you go to a psych ward instead of going to prison. This story is kind of making rounds on the internet. I put all these links down below. But this follows a pattern that MRAs have been talking about for a while. In the UK, there is a separate justice system for men and women, where women don't go to prison for as long as men for the same crime. So women are basically treated more leniently for the same crime. And this is even true for murder and violent crimes. And it's to the point now where, and I've done videos on this very thing before, even when women commit murder, sometimes they don't go to prison at all. And this woman killed her 10-year-old disabled child and isn't going to jail at all. So let's take a look at the article. Now, the most disgusting thing about this, and this explains how feminism is influencing the justice system in the UK, is that the judge took the mother's side. The judge, a female judge, took the mother's side in murdering her own child, and actually said that the child was less of a victim than the mother. So the judge said that the mother who murdered her own child was the real victim, and that the child who was murdered was just an indirect victim. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but here it is. A mother who suffocated her disabled son while at her wits' end, struggling to cope during lockdown, has been given an indefinite hospital order, which again is kind of like being in the psych ward. Olga Freeman, 40, placed a sponge in 10-year-old Dylan's mouth before laying him down surrounded by his toys at their home in Cumberland Park, Acton, West London on August 15th last year. The lawyer had become increasingly, and remember, she's a lawyer, so she knows the law, she knows how the court system works, she knows like what to say and do. Anyway, the lawyer had become increasingly isolated while struggling to care for her autistic son who required round-the-clock care, the Old Bailey said. The Old Bailey is a court in the UK, in London. And that was the whole point of this decision to not send her to prison, that, oh, well, she was struggling with the stress because of COVID and lockdown taking care of her son. So that's why it was okay for her to murder him and kill him, and why she's not going to jail. And as insane as that sounds, you'll see that's actually what the judge says. The judge, Mrs. Justice Chima Grubb, said it was a rare and desperately sad case. But sad for whom? The burden of looking after Dylan had taken its toll, and by the summer of 2020, with Freeman exhausted and having reached her wit's end, the senior judge said. She added, I have no doubt at all that you were a remarkably loving and dedicated mother to a vulnerable child, until multiple pressures overwhelmed you, and your mind was swamped by a destructive illness with florid psychotic elements. A loving mother? She strangled her 10-year-old to death because she said she was stressed out. And the judge is saying, I have no doubt you are a loving mother. It's like she's making it out that, the judge is making it out that the mother was the real victim here. Like the mother is the one you're supposed to feel sorry for. Like the mother is the one who is the victim in the case. No, she murdered her 10-year-old son. Like imagine if a man killed his child, or even if a man killed an adult, a man killed another adult, and his excuse was, well, I was really stressed out mentally because of COVID. Could you imagine a judge saying, well, you were a really great friend or a really great husband, and I know you were really, really stressed out. So that's what it was. No, you would never hear that. That's insane. She murdered a 10-year-old. She strangled him to death. And this is the quote that made me the most angry about this whole thing. This is the judge talking again. To some unknowable extent, it should be recognized that Dylan was an indirect victim of interruption to normal life caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Wait, indirect victim? He's the indirect victim? So who's the direct victim? The mother? Like, the child who was murdered is the indirect victim, but like the real victim is the person that killed him, because the mother was stressed out. And because of her stress, she killed her child. So the mother's the real victim, and then the child who was murdered was the indirect victim? Like, could you imagine if it was a man who killed his girlfriend because he was stressed out in their apartment during COVID? Could you imagine a judge saying, well, it's because you were stressed. So your girlfriend was the indirect victim, but the real victim is you because you were stressed. And this is a parent killing a 10-year-old. That's basically the argument that's being used here. That's a judge saying that. That's actually what happens. That's insane. That's really scary. And this happens all the time in the UK. And this is the thing right here. You see this all the time. I've done videos on this before about how women are excused when they commit murder. Okay, look for this phrase in a lot of my videos or articles in the UK about women who are excused for committing murder or violent crimes. She had initially been charged with murder, but prosecutors accepted a guilty plea to manslaughter on the grounds of, and here it is, diminished responsibility. Diminished responsibility. What does that mean? It means that she was stressed. And I know the argument here is that, well, she was found guilty of insanity and she had a psychiatric episode and psychotic episode. But this is being used in the UK a lot. Whenever women commit crimes like murder, they stab their husbands, they kill their child, oh, it was a psychotic episode, and so therefore there's no jail time at all. And keep in mind, that's what this story is about. It's not like, oh, she only got 2 years or only got 1 year. She's going to a mental hospital. And that's the only thing that she's doing. And I agree, if someone is truly insane, then yes, they should be treated for their mental illness. But I don't think this woman was so insane that she didn't know to not murder her 10-year-old. Because she knew what she was doing enough to set the crime up, set the crime scene up, tell her friends, and then go to the police station. And I also think that this system is something that feminists have lobbied in the UK to be able to get women off of serious crimes, where women say, oh, well, I had a psychiatric problem, or I felt mentally ill, therefore I shouldn't go to prison. And I've done videos, I put these links in my description at the bottom of videos I've done before on how women in the UK are getting excused for very serious crimes, even up to murder, even killing children. So I put a few other links to this story. I know some people don't like the source that I used, the Metro, but I have some other sources as well, BBC, Evening Standard. So read it and look at the facts and tell me what you think.